So you're tired of school, you're tired of all the homework, dealing with teachers, seeing the same people every day, and dropping out seems like a good idea. 40 years ago, a person without a high school diploma still had a good chance of supporting himself or herself and their family. But not anymore. The world has changed. Each year, 30,000 students in Georgia drop out of school. 40 years ago, dropping out of school basically meant you lost the chance to be educated, to gain more knowledge. That was a serious loss, but still, you could get a decent job at a factory, a restaurant, or a store and make an adequate living. It's not as easy anymore. Technology has grown more and more complex over the last few decades, and low-skill jobs that don't require much education have all but disappeared, at least the ones that pay a good living. To work in a manufacturing plant today, for example, you need to understand computers, know how to work in teams, how to handle complicated procedures. You have to know how to read and write and think, sometimes in a hurry. If you can't do these things, you may find that the only job you can get is flipping burgers.
Low-skill jobs are considered entry-level jobs, and the person who gets a job, let's say a part-time job frying hamburgers, is fine. Somebody in high school might do that until they get out of school and then go on to college or to vo-tech school or on to the military or some other job, and that's fine as an entry-level job. But it's a very dead-end job for somebody to think, I'm going to work there 40 years, because there's not any room for promotion. There's no room to move up in that kind of occupation. Because it requires just minimal skills.
Today's job market has gotten so tough that even older dropouts are having to go back and get their GEDs, or the equivalent of a high school diploma. But going back to school when you're older can be more difficult than going while you're young.
I think it's much harder to study when you get to be my age because you have so many other problems on your mind outside of just coming to school, studying. Right now, these kids don't have to worry about paying rent. They don't have to worry about putting food on the table. They don't have to worry about clothing themselves. But if you're a mother or a grandmother, them things are always on the back of your mind.
These students found out the hard way that dropping out can be a big mistake. They are volunteers in Georgia's Youth Challenge program, a 22-week residential program for dropouts, ages 16 to 19, who want a second chance to get that diploma. These students got that second chance, along with 16-hour days and lots of hard work. These students are typical in that they all dropped out of school for different reasons. Some became parents, some were bored with their classes, others were struggling to keep up. But all of them found that as a high school dropout, you can expect to have a lot of doors shut in your face.
I don't have to worry about no authority or nothing like that. And once I went to work, it was like, had more commitment and all.
Without a diploma, you can't really get any jobs. You know, maybe flip a couple of burgers or something, but that's about it.
If I could do it all over again, I would still be in high school.
Students in the Youth Challenge program say they enjoy the structure and the discipline and achieving things they've never done before. But they all agree that living in a military environment can be a lot tougher than high school.
Asperger, you wasn't getting smart, were you?
No, Sergeant.
You owe me after this formation, you understand?
Yes, Sergeant.
Never get smart, my squad leader again, all right?
Without a high school diploma, you are twice as likely to live in poverty. Over the course of your lifetime, you will make $500,000 less than someone with a high school diploma. Of course, there's always exceptions to the rule, and occasionally a high school dropout will make it big, but the odds aren't great. Delano Wright dropped out of school when he was 17, but that didn't stop his career. He joined a band called Level 3 that had a single on the soundtrack for the movie White Men Can't Jump. But in spite of his success, at age 26, Delano was studying to get his GED. He has learned that in today's world, a good education provides the greatest security.
What if my music don't sell? What if the record doesn't hit? You know, the next year I may have a hit, but the year after that I might fail. What can I lean back on? That's why I'm here. That's my whole thing. If you can lean back on nothing, you can always lean back on the education, because nobody can take that away.
Today, 1/3 of the homeless and 57% of the prison population are high school dropouts.
About Georgia's economic history, we have more stories to tell, so we'll be back. This is Georgia Stories 2. I'm Colin Seedor. Thanks.